Hello, hello, and welcome to the show because you are now tuned into a brand spanking new Monday Night Live. That's right. AKA the Hangout Stream, AKA the Chill Stream, baby. All fired up. Ready to have some fun for September 18th, 2023, and brought to you by you know who. Yours truly, the man, broadcasting from behind the curtain. You know who I am. Because if you don't know by now, you can visit www.livefreeliverich.com or simply Google this name and you'll find out. How you doing out there how are you people doing out there in internet land? Is everything peachy keen or what? You have a good week? You can let me know in the comments down below. Let's see what I have lined up for tonight. Do you know what it means to enjoy the smell of your own farts? Stay tuned, because you might find out tonight during our Hot Topics segment. I also have some news in regard to a recurring nightmare I play a role in. And then I'll be reading about 3 bodies, cheap beer, and a British novel. Just before I put a twist on the latest book tag I'll be participating in. That's right. So I hope you guys are prepared to have some fun tonight. Looks like we got chat lighting up. Who's in the house? Hello, hello. Nicole's Bookish Nook in the house live. How we doing? Yeah, that's right. I'm going to be doing your book tag tonight. Or the book tag that you tagged me in. Yeah, for sure. Thomas! Hey, this is rare. See you live on the air. Or while I'm live on the air, that is. Yeah, it's good to see you folks. Well, I will be I'll be checking in periodically, but at this time, I like to take this time, before we get to all that stuff I just mentioned, I like to take this time, slide right inside my first segment of the night, where I like to shine a spotlight on some books. That's right, that are currently available or coming soon to an online store near you. Yes, it's true. Let's see what we have up first here tonight. We have from Luis F. Montalvo, from Mr. Montalvo. He says, congratulations, amazing work. Here's my latest story. Kind of a cross between The Sixth Sense and The Others. You guys remember those films? Montalvo. I like saying that last name. Pretty sure I'm pronouncing it properly. You're making dinner? What's on the menu? Little tamales and guac. All right, and we're going to be taking a look at The Unknown by Louis F. Montalvo. Let's check out that blurb, shall we? Says, my name is Thomas Edward Daniels. My associates call me Professor Daniels, and my friends simply call me Tom. I am a fictional character created by the author, in case you didn't know. I teach history at an upscale university somewhere in North Carolina. I'm married to the most beautiful woman on planet Earth. Her name is Sarah Daniels. We have been married for over 20 years, although to me it feels more like a century, and I'm sure she agrees with me. We live in a beautiful two-story Victorian-style house built in 1922 with our beautiful, blessed daughter, Sophia. Our blessing is now 9 years old and a handful. Our little Sophie, as we call her, is a passionate fan of ice cream. If ice cream was a meal, it would be her choice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All right, I was seeing how long this blurb is. My life was picture perfect. A beautiful family, a beautiful home filled with love and joy. The only thing missing was just a dog or cat. But one day, my world came crashing down. My life changed drastically when my beautiful wife was diagnosed with a terminal illness. I lost my job of 20 years and started drinking from sunrise to sundown to cope with all the pain and sorrow of this new reality. Well, that escalated quickly. I was scared, broken, and lost. Having these feelings that I had never had to experience before truly broke my soul. Did I mention I have a gift? I can see the dead, and they can see and communicate their thoughts and feelings to me. You see, when I was 7 years old, I discovered this unique and special gift for the very first time. The dead like to communicate and share with me how they died and, in most cases, who killed them or who or what took them away. If I was that guy, I'd be like, listen, that sounds like a you problem, pal. I got enough problems, all right? It is a curse to be able to have this gift. Yeah, no doubt. As evil itself is present in many forms with maleficent intentions every single time. I have worked as a paranormal investigator in the past to help families discover the truth about the passing of their loved ones. I'm about to share with you the last chapter of my journey in life. Or is it? 166 pages of ghost suspense, ghost thrillers, paranormal suspense. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a hot topic. All right. Keeping it moving. See who's up next tonight. We have from Christopher Coates. Christopher Coates says Tasha Salen is a kind, loving wife and mother who secretly awaits the next phone call, a call that will instruct her who her new target is, the person she is assigned to kill. Look out. Perhaps a little La Femme Nikita action going on here. All right, let's check out The Assassin, Awakens by Christopher Coates. Tasha Salen is a loving wife and mother. She is trained as a medical professional, but secretly awaits the next phone call for her other career, a call that will mark her next target. Assassination isn't a trade easily broken into, and she has to prove herself every step of the way. Unable to deny the thrill of the kill, she secretly builds her career as an assassin, gladly taking any job they have for her. Seeking out those that have use for her new talents, Tasha experiences the pain and challenges this new life brings. But what will she do when the lives of her family are threatened by someone wanting to control her and her talents? 318 pages of crime, action, fiction, suspense, action, fiction, crime, action, and adventure. Female assassins. Cold-blooded. Sounds like a cold-blooded female assassin. I suppose you'd have to be cold-blooded regardless if you were male or female to be an assassin. All right, moving right along. We got one more book here. From George Veck. Says, thanks for the lift. New release. Ogwen Blues. Ogwen Blues, a claustrophobic, tense, psychological family drama set in the mountains of North Wales. We got drama. You said you had a good week, Thomas? You do anything special? You got any, how's your projects coming along? Anything to note? Anything you'd like to share? All right, Ogwen Blues. Up in the mountains of Bethesda, North Wales, Colin Tudor, a 50-year-old football referee, has endured a pitiful, people-pleasing existence. Finally chasing his dream, he commits to full-time training, quitting his job as a bin man, one day dreaming of reffing on S4C. This far from serves his parasitic, coercive wife Claire and stepson Dale, who have both long grown dependent on his salary. Thwarted in his pursuit of freedom by North Wales' second home owner induced housing shortage, 20-year-old Dale wallows within the confines of Colin's isolated mountaintop farm cottage. Freshly expelled from college, unemployable, and broken by his family's toxic, codependent grooming, drug addiction steps in to fill his sorrow-shaped hole. When a chance arises to enter the dealing game, a stab at ending this nightmare, he grips it with both hands, dragging a host of issues to the family's door. So definitely getting strong literary fiction vibes here. Definitely strong literary fiction. It's 128 pages. Amazon categorized it under psychological literary fiction. Yeah, that seems pretty appropriate. Also, organized crime and organized crime thrillers. So maybe there's a little bit of that in there as well. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So Thomas says, I've been writing a lot and current book's outline is flying along. That's great. Is that the one? Now, that's not the one that you were working on live on the air, was it? When you were doing live streams, like live writing workshops? Is it that one, or is this a different project? If you wanted me to, you could share it with me. You would have to, well, I mean, we could talk. I mean, there's probably different ways that you could do it. Usually I would read something if you, like, say if you had a blog or something like that and you published it on your blog, but I don't know if you want to do that if it's not even like, you know what I mean? If you haven't even had like people, like beta readers or anything like that yet. Oh, okay. The Maven War Saga. All right. Well, speaking of books, those are the books for this week, ladies and gentlemen. And if you guys are watching this on the replay, you know the deal. Head on over to the community tab. I'll put it up in post-production. In post-production, I'll put up a poll, and you can vote for which one out of those 3 books you thought had the most text appeal for this week. So in other words, which one out of those 3 aforementioned titles would you be most likely to pick? And if you would like to discover more from the independent market, you can head on over to my shorts tab or my playlist tab. You can open yourself up some mystery packs. That's right. Inside each mystery pack, there is a cover card that reveals a book from the independent market that was recognized by the Live Free, Live Rich Network. And inside the description section of each video, there's a link to an editorial written on that book by yours truly. You're in first draft. All right. I would do that. I'd be willing to do that. Like if it was just the prologue. Yeah, for sure. I would definitely do that. And I would be, and the timing couldn't be any more impeccable because after next week, so I have something lined up for tonight and I have something lined up for next week's show. But after that, that reading time segment is going to be wide open. So I don't have anything queued up for the rest of the year. So yeah, I could get to that definitely, and sooner rather than later. In the next segment here, we have is another one that is wide open, is the Reader's Review. What is the Reader's Review? This segment is all about highlighting those of you who take the time to read independent literature or self-pubbed books. That's right. But you not only do you read those books, you're willing to give those books a time of day, give them a chance, give them a fair shake, if you will. But you also take it a step further, go above and beyond, and leave a review, write a review on those books. So I would like for you to share a review with me, and I will read it live on the air. That's right. I just basically want you to share your experience. I want to start hearing personal experiences from people who are actually reading independent literature. So it doesn't matter the genre, and I also don't care if you had if you had if you want to share a negative experience with a book that you purchased from the independent market, or if it was a positive experience. In other words, there's no requirements there. I'm just playing middleman. All right. I will read all the above, so long as it's what I'm looking for is short form reviews. So think like just like a Goodreads post. Like if you have a Goodreads account, you can share a Goodreads review with me. You can share Amazon. You can share Amazon review with me, or just like a social media post of you just kind of sharing your thoughts about a book, and a rating as well. It doesn't have to be a rating involved, but like if it's just a social media post. But another way is you indie authors as well. So indie authors, if you would like to recognize a reader that took the time to read one of your books and write up a review, and you kind of just would like to recognize them almost as basically like a thank you, to them or whatever, I'll recognize them live on the air in that way. So I think that is important. Like if we're going to, start building up this like indie type of culture or something like that, without readers, there is no culture. It's just going to be a bunch of authors, saying, buy my book, buy my book. And that's not culture. That's just sales. That's just marketing. Awesome. Sweet. All right. Now, here's the thing, though. If I read your prologue live on the air, just bear in mind that I may share some commentary, but it's not going to be the purpose of me reading it on the show will not necessarily be to give you critique on your work. It's technically not what I try to focus on. However, obviously I'm going to be looking at it. Obviously, I'm going to be looking at your work as like somebody who is literally just a reader picking it up for the first time. So obviously, I'm going to, if I have anything to say about it, then it's going to be coming from that kind of a perspective, not as like an official critique, but more as like kind of like a first impressions kind of deal, if that makes sense. Hey, Rainer in the house. Another one. I always catch you on dinner. This is your dinner time as well. Yeah. I just wanted to say that because I know I will read. I don't know. Sometimes I know that can feel like I don't know, like there's pressure or something like that, but it's no pressure. So just for FYI, for anyone who may be on the fence about sharing things here on the show, anything that I do here live on the air, it's not, the purpose of it is not to put, artists or writers or authors on the spot. It's not so much about me sharing my personal opinion about things on this show. It's really, the whole point of the show is really just about raising awareness and saying, hey, like these, like we're discovering things together at the same time. Like, hey, these are things that exist in the underground scene. And if it sounds interesting to you, you can check it out. And these are kind of like, once in a while I might share like my first impressions on it. But yeah, it's not really about my opinion. It's more about raising awareness for the sake of discovery. Did you put some in? Let's get into the next segment. I don't know how long tonight's going to be, but we'll see. I got some announcements to make. I have one special announcement to make. And that is that Doorway to Nightmare Season 8 premiered this past Friday. Yes. For those of you who don't know, in my spare time, I do a little bit of voice acting. Been trying to kind of broaden my creative horizons, if you will, and I've been doing some voice acting on this show, Doorway to Nightmare. Of course, that shows up like that. Anyways, you can kind of see the names there. But anyways, Doorway to Nightmare Season 8 premiered this past Friday. Doorway to Nightmare is an anthology-based kind of mystery, thriller / horror serialized like show. Or not serialized, excuse me. It's anthology. So meaning that each and every single episode within a season is a brand new story featuring a fresh cast of characters who are all acted. It's dramatized by voice actors. So it's pretty cool. And this past episode, entitled When Sunny Came Home, and is featuring the voices of Crimson McKenzie and Winslow Swan, who are the creators of Doorway to Nightmare. Winslow writes the scripts. Crimson does the editing. And then you have voice acting by Mick Davis and yours truly. Now, I will say that I have to say this: the gold star of this show, the one who stole the show this time around, has to be Mick Davis. That's where my nominee goes to for this particular show. That guy, he has some freaking range, man, with his voices. I was, especially in this one, I was very impressed. He, yeah, I mean, if you know, you know, and I'll be leaving a link to this episode in the show notes down below in post-production. You guys can check that out in your own time, and you can see for yourself. But yes, Doorway to Nightmare Season 8 is now live. Episodes premiere every Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. And usually, Crimson and Winslow are live in the chat while the episode is premiering. You were in, weren't you in like drama or something like that? I know that weren't you like in the theater business for a little while there, or acting yourself? But yeah, it is fun. It's fun. Just a little something. Just a little something to do on the side. The easiest way, if you guys would like to get your work kind of noticed, recognized, or be heard, and be featured on the show, I have 2 open invitations in the show notes down below for our group servers. So I have the Gilded server and I have the Discord server. And both, they're basically the same, but I just maybe you have one and not the other, but it's open invitation. Everybody is welcome. I just assume everyone's adults. You guys can do you can talk with whoever you want, engage however you want, network with whoever you want. I don't police the server in the sense that, like, I say, there'll be like the one thing that aggravates me about like online communities, let's just say, is that like the lack of is like when you get like these moderators in there that make it like impossible for creatives to like network and connect with one another. Like they police it and they create these invisible barriers between the creatives, and they try to make it like all about them, like whatever group it is or anything like that. Like if you're in our group, it's about whatever we're talking about, and that's it. Like I don't gel with those types of people in general, like whether it be in real life or on the internet, like people who try to like, gatekeep and all that type of stuff. If people are there, if people are showing up, I'm going to assume you're showing up for a reason. You're interested first and foremost. But then, like, if you can gain some sort of alternative benefit as a result of what it is that I'm doing here, i.e., like you being able to meet other people through, what it is that I'm doing here, then fuck it, man. That's more power to you as far as that goes. I'm not here to gatekeep. I'm not here to tell people you can only do this, you can only do that, and you can only interact with the group in this way or that way, and don't be sending people personal messages or this or that. I can't stand that shit. When groups have rules like that, I just like automatically leave. It's like a rotating door. I swing in. It's like that Simpsons episode where the old man enters the gentleman's club, sees Bart sitting there to like check people in. He like puts his hat on and then immediately turns around, grabs his hat and leaves. Yeah, that's me when I see those type of fucking rules. I was never here. Yeah, I don't get it, man. You're small time. You're a nobody. You're small. If you're small potatoes as it is, like, why would you restrict or why would you make it difficult for people to interact in your whatever it is that you're trying to set up? Like, why would you make it difficult for people, or why would you make it not fun? In other words, like, I would think that the main goal of any group is to make, especially if we're talking about arts and entertainment here, we're talking about arts and entertainment, right? I think like that should be the main goal of any group, is to make it a fun experience, right? For everybody involved. Because if it's not a fun experience, then what's the point? But you guys don't want to hear me on my soapbox right now. Yeah. Just no, not for me. No. If I see lame behavior, gatekeeping behavior, I'm out of there. I'm like, these ain't my people, man. Maybe not everybody, not all, but just those few that got to ruin it for everybody. You know what I mean? Don't try to chain me down. But at the same time, I will respect the rules of the group. So if people don't want something, then I'll just say, yeah, this ain't for me, and I'll leave. But if you guys would like to stay on the up and up with what's going on with my brand specifically, you can head on over to livefreeliverich.com. Right on the homepage, all I'm asking for now is just an email address. Just an email address. I've tried to make a conscious effort. It's just another way of like, building up that email list, which is important because you never know with these social media companies nowadays. They'll delete your account, if it's that time of the month for them. Who knows? Who knows what's going through a lot of these technocrats' brains nowadays? And quite frankly, who cares? But yeah, you can head on over to my website, And right on the homepage, I just ask for an email. You'll join my list, and I send out exactly one newsletter per week that will give you all the pertinent links from the previous week. So you can stay on the up and up with what I have going on. And if push comes to shove in an emergency situation, let's just say, I have a means of being able to contact the vast majority of you guys, you know, if for whatever reason I lose my social media accounts, what have you. In case we have to rebuild, as they say, newsletters or newsletter lists, or email lists, I should say. Email lists are the quickest way to kind of like help jumpstart a new venture or endeavor if I have to like set up shop, say on a new platform or something like that. Still relevant today, email lists, still a relevant thing. D.A. Bell in the house. What's going on? All right. And just one more quick little piece of housekeeping for you writers out there who would like to, looking for some extra opportunities to get some eyeballs on your work, and you like to kind of build up your creative portfolio, your creative writing portfolio. Hey, I'm looking to collaborate with some of you writers out there. I created a little opportunity here for you guys that I call the Storytellers Society. Here's a little promo cut on that. The Storytellers Society, still accepting open submissions. This is a public collaborative project. Kind of basically an outreach program, really, for my peers in the writing community. What I'm looking for is flash fiction for this project. Flash fiction for this project is fiction that is between 500 all the way up to 2,000 words. This can be fiction that you actually have published somewhere else, so long as you own the copyright and you have the right to give me permission to republish it on my blog, where it will be free for public viewing from now and indefinitely. Just because you submit something doesn't mean that your work will automatically be published. It does need to be approved, but if approved, then you'll effectively book yourself a room at what I've dubbed the Hotel del SS, where all the members of the Storyteller Society stay. Yes, and that is specifically for my peers in the writing community. And finally, if you guys have some news you'd like to share, you can share your news with me. That's right. And I might even do my special news broadcaster voice for you guys. We have a special update. This just in. We've got some special news coming from the underground scene. And you guys can share it with me, and I will share it live on the air. Now, this could be like book clubs, buddy reads. You got a Kickstarter, crowdfunder type of campaign coming up, anything like that. You know, when in doubt, don't think, just share the link, and I'll figure it out. All right, that's the motto of the show around these parts. All right. Let's move into the next segment. We're going to get into some reading time. I do have something to read for tonight. See who it comes from. And this comes from a user by the name of T Shark. It says, sure. Here you go. Thanks for reading. All right. Well, let's get to it. Tonight, I'm going to be reading, it's a first chapter here. I'm not sure if this is like a serialized thing or if it's like an actual novel or what, but I guess I'll find out. And this is chapter 1, subtitle 3 Bodies, Cheap Beer, and a British Novel by T. Shark. I don't know. I looked all around the blog. This is on his blog called Bowling Till It Hurts. But I actually couldn't find an actual author name, so I just went with the Twitter handle. So let's check it out. What's DA up to? Nothing much. You've been blogging. I know you have a blog, DA. What have you been writing lately? Anything? Anything spicy? Huh? All right, on Blogger here, he's got his blog spot. All right, let's get right into it. April 2015. I felt the blade pinch at the testy bits around my mouth and once again pondered the wisdom of buying the generic disposable razors. Looking in the mirror, I noticed I had shaved every area except that bastard piece just under my nose. It reminded me of my ex-girlfriend, Kayla, who'd walk in on me in a similar position years ago and asked, "You're not going to leave that, are you?" To which I replied, Yes, I am. And goose-stepped past her, nearly forgetting to shave off the postage stamp stash before heading to work. Kayla, great legs, good kisser, and yet somehow we drifted apart. Oh well. I was already running late. Do your taxes? It was housecoat Helen, my chatty downstairs neighbor. Why, is it April 14th yet? I cracked sarcastically, stepping into our shared vestibule. She held up the early edition of the Boston Globe in answer. Crap, I replied louder than I wanted, then considered that I should really do better hallway reconnaissance before venturing out in the morning. I smiled what I, but not her, thought was politely, and pushed past and through the door. Maybe it was that third natty ice I downed for breakfast, but I actually noticed the air smelled fresh and spring had arrived, dappling the leaves of the New England maples with subtle reds and browns. I briefly considered whether the presence of the word dappling in my thoughts may be indicating I had a burgeoning problem, breakfast-wise. However, time was of the essence, and it seemed to be more a dosage issue than full-blown dipsomania. So I put the matter to rest as I made my way across the parking lot. Yeah, I think that might be I think that might be what he was implying. Into the Ford Falcon, where I pulled the defroster glove from the hole in the dashboard, wiped the windshield, and sprayed like hell. And prayed like hell she turned over. That accomplished, I made my way downtown and took an angled spot on the Norman Rockwell-esque main drag in front of a narrow 2-story brick office building with Artfield Herald printed across the bay window. As I approached the paint-peeling front door, I noticed a piece of loose leaf paper with a large magic markered F had been stuck to the window with a wad of gum right in front of the A in Artfield. There's your fart jokes, Thomas. The price of being located just down the street from the Calvin Coolidge Middle School. Hey, I resent that. I left it flapping in the light breeze and made my way inside. I waved too, but tried not to look at the new 19-year-old receptionist with gravity-defying breasts. The paper went to press today, and I didn't need any more distractions than the slight buzz I had currently. Copy editor Gladys Nutwell was hunched over a laptop in the rear office area. She was 60 and serious in a New England Puritan at a witch-burning kind of way. She was decked out in her usual seasons be damned outfit. Long, solid-colored skirt, frilly blouse pinched at the neck by a pearl pin, and shoes so sensible they probably had their own 401k. That's funny. Her graying hair was pulled back with such severity, it looked painful, and with the deadline approaching, she was a safe distance from a barrel of monkeys. How's it going? I asked, turning toward the coffee machine in the alcove kitchen. How do you think it's going? She spat, and we were off. There was no milk in the mini fridge, just some fancy-looking creamer, and the only place I wanted to be less than here was a tiny cafe table in Vienna, so I left it black, but made it up to myself by leaning against a file cabinet where I could engage Gladys while still glimpsing at the receptionist in my peripheral vision. Her brown hair bounced as she spun in her swivel chair to answer a call. I pictured diving into it nose first and it smelling like new tennis balls. All right, hold on a second. I didn't quite catch that the first time. Let me reread that sentence with a little bit more poise. I pictured diving into it nose first and it smelling like new tennis balls. I don't know if I would use I don't know if that's such a good choice to use tennis balls or to use balls in any kind of way as a metaphor in this particular case, but I digress. Then before a little bit confusing, let's just say. Then before I started creeping even myself out, I decided to get back to business. Did you see the middle schoolers F-bombed us again? I asked Gladys. Yes, I noticed that, she replied distractedly while shuffling through papers with her left hand. It's not the crudeness I mind. It's having to scrape the gum off the window every time. Why not get Miss Magna Cum Perky of secretarial school out there to do it? Gladys sniffed. Oh, we got a little cattiness there in the office, it seems. Casting aspersions on a young lady who had done nothing but warm the cockles of my poor heart, or the poor heart of my warm cockles. I wasn't sure which. Yeah, balls. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's just it's kind of it paints a little bit of a confusing picture because I know I kind of well at least I'd like to think that I have an idea of what he was referring to there, but just seems weird to use balls specifically. The word balls. When you think the word balls, you're probably not thinking what he wanted you to think. All right, I decided to take a different track. Is that the minutes of the council meeting? She picked up the stapled pages, which I now noted were covered in more red ink than my freshman chemistry midterm. No, it's Carol Henselman's weekly editorial. She must have caught that 60 Minutes piece on campaign finance reform, and she turned in 1,200 words in defense of the Citizens United decision and money in politics. No national stuff. We're a local paper. Bad enough we agree to publish her rants about freeholders and county sheriffs every November. Isn't there a pothole on her street or unkempt lawn in her neighborhood she could go off about? Consider it killed, replied Gladys, with what qualified as a smile on Go to Press Day. I had already cut it down to nothing, removing all the crap about Charles Koch. I figured that would rub you the wrong way. Actually, my problem with Charles Koch is not political so much. It's more that with $1 billion, he could be renting out the Louvre for a private viewing, riding dirt bikes up the pyramids of Giza, playing a game of ASS against the Great Wall of China. Hell, I'd be swinging from a chandelier in the Bellagio penthouse, getting ready to do a triple Lindy into an Olympic-sized pool filled with Dom Perignon and hookers. I mean, the world is your oyster, and you're worried about getting an anti-labor candidate elected in the 3rd Iowa congressional district encompassing the greater part of Cedar Rapids? It's not the politics that bother me. It's the utter lack of imagination. What are we going to use for filler? Gladys asked, knocking me off my momentary soapbox. I'll come up with something, I replied, sipping the bitter coffee. Lord knows they pay me enough. Gladys shrugged, tossed the pages on top of her overflowing trash bin, and added, while you're at it, Miss Kleinschmidt called saying she was sick all week and won't have a social column for us. Fabulous. Oh, the glamorous life of a small press editor. Hey, you could have wrote for a city paper, remember? But you were no good at taking orders, so you came back home. Now this is your job. You chose it. Maybe so, I responded, shaking my head. But trust me, starving came in a close second. Starving. Gladys looked routinely unimpressed. Just get me something for Hanselman, she intoned, rotating her swivel chair to attack the overstuffed in basket on the other side of her desk. I'll go through the notices folks sent in the fudge up what passes for a social column in this podunk burg. I looked down at my still quarter-filled coffee cup, then tossed it in the kitchen area trash can, thinking I really need to get a flask for days like these. Meanwhile, Gladys went back to her keyboard, and I headed into my tiny, cluttered office to look over some last-minute advertising copy for this week. Next, I gave a once-over to our meager finances and fully depressed decided to phone the town clerk. Miriam answered in a voice so husky it should have been pulling a sled. I was momentarily titillated until I remembered she was pushing 70 and built like an H-back. I told her it was Luke Williams calling. Is Wes in? Not yet, honey, she spurred. Any revelations from the council meeting last night? I asked, hoping for a surprise that could fill Carol Hanselman's space. Nothing really. I have the notes. Should I read them to you? Hey, Sean, welcome. I flipped through the junk mail on my desk until I uncovered the Victoria's Secret catalog that I noticed had gotten mixed in by mistake. Locating a particular buxom, busteered brunette, I bid her go on. Then I put the voice to the picture until it seemed silly that she should be kneeling on a 4-poster bed, licking her finger while discussing repairs to the town's septic system. So I thanked Miriam and signed off. Out in the office, I saw Sandy Molesworth, a part-time reporter, enter. Her husband owned the biggest car dealership in the country, and she was dressed in a full-length fur in defiance of the rising temps, despite the fact that she thought she was the second coming of Ida Tarbell and Martha Gellhorn rolled into one. I tolerated her, if only for the fact she was happy to go up to Montpelier to cover the state legislature. Gladys claimed this was because she was sleeping with half the assembly. But considering our sparse staffing, I couldn't afford to look a gift whore in the mouth. When I noticed Gladys stop typing, I knew something important was up. So I left the mystery of Victoria's ongoing secret unsolved and walked out to see what was prompting Sandy's unscheduled visit. As I sidled up behind Gladys's left shoulder, Sandy was just getting to the point. She seemed surprised at our ignorance, though I'm sure her already subterranean estimation of our abilities could go any lower. So you really didn't hear? Neither of you? She placed her hands on her hips, but I fixed her with the sternest glower I could muster through the natty ice and caffeine. She caught her eyes mid-roll and continued. Out on Logansport Road, a murder-suicide. Holy shit on a shingle, Gladys exploded. Sandy stopped and we both stared dumbfounded. It was like catching your grandmother watching porn. Worse, it was like catching your grandmother doing porn. Murders just didn't happen here, let alone one with a suicide kicker. Who was killed? I asked. Ted Sheehan. He was vice principal at the high school. I only knew of Ted Sheehan, but it was still sad and shocking. I can't believe it. What happened? Sandy fixed me with a smug, more informed than thou look. Apparently, he was dating an ex-student of legal age and all, but 16 years his junior. She was 23, he was 39. The girl's father shot them both, then killed himself. Jesus! A double murder. It was Gladys again. Son of an ass. Though I was far from the touchy-feely type, I put a hand on her shoulder to steady her while wondering if there was such a thing as shock-induced Tourette's. Poor Ed, I managed. Poor Ted, I managed. I'd only ever heard good things about him. I got the news from Bob Carpenter, said Sandy, dropping the name of our district's state assemblyman and one of her probably lusty liaisons. He's a certified EMT, picked it up on his scanner. She fixed me with a contemptuous stare as if I was derelict in my duty, when in actuality, the last thing I wanted when I was trying to wind down with a natty ice and some Graham Green was background static keeping me posted on every old bastard's broken hip or police station donut run. So who was the girl? He didn't get it. The signal wasn't great and he missed some of the details. Isn't your brother-in-law on the police force? I thought missing the name of the girl and her father sounded suspicious, but she re-upped on the disappointing looks when she reached the last part of the statement. I couldn't blame her. Having a brother-in-law on the force should have been a direct pipeline to big news like this. Problem was, she didn't know my brother-in-law. Patrolman Andrew O'Scanlan is a doughy, pasty, red-headed Irishman who could talk the balls off a brass monkey, to the extent that I was never really sure whether he won my sister's heart through courtship or battering her into a conversational coma. And like most of the violent verbose, there wasn't a subject he couldn't or wouldn't discourse on with absolute certainty. I tolerated him for a while. First, for her sake, then for the sake of inside info. But after she leaked it that I referred to him as the man Will Rogers never met, my pipeline to police secrets dried up in a hurry. Though, on the bright side, my ears finally recovered from their dog toy-like consistency. I checked Gladys again. She seemed to be coming back around. Her eyes no longer glazed over. Her need to curse like a rapper in a strip club subsided. I then made my way back to my office and dialed the Artfield police. Sergeant Wally Reynolds was working the desk. I knew him well from years of playing softball and drinking beer together. The former really just an excuse to participate in the latter. Hey, Wally, I said, trying to sound official. Give me Andrew, will ya? Hi, Luke. How's it going? He said too nonchalantly, and it was instantly obvious something was up. Oh, you mean your brother-in-law, Andrew? No, I mean Andrew Wrigley, the other guy in WHAM. I figured he's not doing anything. Maybe he can play my birthday party next month. Oh, yeah, Andrew's not here. Want to leave a message? Sarcasm received and not returned was another red flag. Big city departments may have layers of faceless, monotone underlings to steer the curious away from sensitive matters, but that wasn't going to fly here. Listen, Wally, I know about the double murder-suicide. No thanks to you guys. Now what's going on? I'm about to hold up the press here. Give me something. I'd always been the laid-back type, but I saw an entire day of rewrites and rearranging coming my way, and it gave my voice an unfamiliar edge. This obviously took Wally by surprise, and he switched to trying to level with me. I'm sorry, Luke, but we're under orders not to talk about that. Straight from the chief. The change in his tone indicated the aggressive approach was working, so I forged ahead. Cut the crap, Wally. This isn't the friggin' Rockford Files. It's buttfuck Vermont. We went to elementary school together. That night we won the league championship. I saw you trip and pass out in your own vomit in the front of Pete's pub. Yeah, and if I remember correctly, he cut in, you didn't help me up, but stood over me yelling, "Officer down! Officer down!" I suppressed a chuckle and kept on working him. Yeah, and you once kept Pete entertained with your impression of me crapping out on a head first slide and doing the Australian crawl into third base. That's what I'm talking about. Give me something to work with. You know I won't throw you under the bus. It was his turn to hold back a laugh, and he softened a bit. Okay, all I can say is try Glenn Hubbard, he said, mentioning the name of the former Artfield correspondent for the nearest daily paper, the Burlington Bee. He's still in the loop. He might be able to point you to the folks who can talk. It wasn't much, but I couldn't play tough guy for long. Thanks, Wally. I'll give Hubbard a try. Next time I see you at Pete's, remind me I owe you a beer. You owe me several, but one will do to start. Sorry I couldn't do more. He hung up, and I shot my drawers for Hubbard's home number. Found it under an old Molly Hatchet cassette. Noted that it didn't feature Flirtin' with Disaster. Tossed it in the trash and dialed. Hello, Hubbard answered on the first ring. It was early, but I knew he'd be up. He was a family man after all. 3 kids from a first marriage, all grown now, and twins under the age of 5 from a second marriage. He even wanted more, but wife number 2 was not a player. He joked that if she didn't come around, he'd dump her and start a third family. That's how much he enjoyed it. I told him once that his obituary was going to look like actor Tony Randall's. He leaves behind 2 daughters, ages 54 and 3. Glenn, it's Luke Williams. Did I wake you? Are you kidding? I'm surprised you're up. Did Artfield repeal the 21st Amendment, or is it a go to press day? You know, I only drink at home alone these days, like George Thorogood. I really called to see if you heard anything about the murder-suicide last night. In Artfield? Jesus. He was shocked as the rest of us. No, not a thing. I can't recall a homicide ever happening up there. No one can, and that's the problem. It seems like the cops don't know whether to shit or wind their wrist. Seems like the cops don't know whether to shit or wind their wristwatches, and so they've brought down the cone of silence. It's like a goddamn Benedictine monastery up here. I declared, stopping before I cross-referenced yet again. Can you get me any info? Work on back channel? Call in favor? I'd be happy to, but I'm not on the beat anymore. Haven't been for a month, he said. If you picked up the B once in a while, you got your nose out of Evelyn Woe, you'd know that. If you picked up the B once in a while and got your nose out of Evelyn Woe, you'd know that. I'm big time now, on the editorial board. Who replaced you? Some kid named Jeremy. He spat out the name with disgust. Green as frickin' grass. Thinks he can do the job by text, email, Twitter, and Google searches. Bunch of BS, if you ask me. Yeah, outside of gambling and porn, I don't really get the purpose of this internet thing. Okay, I'm a dinosaur. I get it. Listen, I'll reach out to the kid and see if he's got anything, but don't count on it. Thanks, I replied, hanging up. Another dead end. A little bit heavy on the dialogue here, I will say. I leaned back and pondered the options. I could try my brother-in-law's cell phone, hope he picks up, and via his congenital diarrhea of the mouth, spit something out for me. But then just the way I phrased that in my head made the idea distasteful. I could go out to the scene, of course, but this would take time. I'd have to push the press run back a day, and the printer over in Farmingdale would no doubt charge us for the change of dates and rush job. Having just perused our meager monetary situation, this was not an option I was anxious to embrace. By now, Gladys and Sandy had taken up spots in my doorway. For lack of better options, I was in charge, and they were looking for me to make the big call on 3rd and long. Instead, I ran a draw and punted by calling my sister, Amy Williams O'Scanlan. The phone ceased ringing, but there was no answer on the other end. Hello, Amy? Hello, I tried. Give me that, you little shit, I heard, and remembered why her and Andrew were a couple. There was faraway laughter, and then, yeah, hello? Amy, it's Luke. Is Andrew there? No. The phone rang in the middle of the night. No, the phone rang in the middle of the night, and he took off. Stopped back this morning for a thermo of coffee and was gone again. Barely said 2 words. Lucky you, I replied, then wondered what those 2 words might have been. Where's your husband now? Probably with anyone in the world except Will Rogers. Ouch. Things weren't going well. There was a crash in the background, and Amy held the phone away to yell something unintelligible. Luke, I'm juggling 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a cat that likes to piss in my shoes here. If you want something, tell me now so I can get back to living the dream. Sarcasm apparently ran in my family. I got down to it. I know about the murder of Ted Sheehan last night. I also know the cops aren't talking. What did Andy say this morning? Who's the girl? I shot the last question out as part plea and part opportunity to get me off her back. The sound of crying started up in the background, and she gladly took the bait. Monica Carson, she graduated 2009 or 10. Her father had some weird name, Burley or Curly or something, she said, her voice fading in and out. The phone obviously cradled between shoulder and ear. You good now? Hardly, I said, thinking about how I was going to sort this out on a deadline. But thanks. Don't worry, I didn't hear it from you. Yeah, I think there was another yeah coming, but a dog barked. There was more crying. A thud, and the line went dead. Suddenly, I was looking more benignly on the prospects of chemical castration. Monica Carson, I said, looking up into the expectant eyes of Gladys and Sandy. Class of 2009, I think. There was a stack of high school yearbooks on top of a filing cabinet in the corner. Before I could move, Gladys had maneuvered her sensible shoes through the detritus of my office like a halfback running the tires at an NFL training camp. She deftly plucked 2009 from the stack and had flipped to Carson, Monica, by the time she laid it out on my desk. We all looked down at a fresh-faced blonde with the kind of freckled nose that is cute in a young woman, melanoma in an older one. The caption was the usual jumble of recognition for sports, clubs, and awards over someday to be embarrassing shout-outs to good times with friends and the music of Miley Cyrus and Jason Mraz. Though considering my own yearbook ramblings made Flock of Seagulls sound like the next Pink Floyd and included the ubiquitous Bruce Springsteen, it's a town full of losers, and I'm pulling out of here to win. Line, I was hardly one to cast aspersions. Gladys was the first to make a connection between Monica and Ted Sheehan. Flip to the clubs section, she said, leaning in closer. There they are, the Random Acts of Kindness Club. I remember Sheehan sending in blurbs about their fundraising for Darfur that we printed. And there's Monica right next to him in the picture. This was an excellent catch by Gladys. It wasn't so much that my memory was shot. It was that high schoolers were constantly collecting for one cause or another. I suspected it had more to do with how it looked on their college application than a real concern with victims of some disaster in a place they'd forgotten by the time they attended their first kegger. Plus, they seemed to always set up outside the automatic doors of this supermarket where I didn't need any help feeling guilty while wheeling out a half dozen boxes of yodels in my bag. Donate to the Native American Tribal Council, they begged. I already gave at the casino, I'd reply. I enjoy some of these little quips. Interesting, but it doesn't really tell us much. It looks like half the student body was in the club, I mused. We flipped through more pages, not really knowing what we were looking for. Time was wasting. A decision on the printer had to be made when Charlie Grissom, our photographer, came in, his comb-over blown to crap, and went straight for the coffee. Cup poured, he made his way over to the office and stood in the doorway next to Sandy. Guess you know about the murder already. I picked it up on my scanner this morning and stopped over there on the way in. Sandy looked at me, eyebrow cocked. What is this, 1977? Do I also need a CB radio with a 17-foot antenna for my car? I lamented. Anyway, what's going on out there, Charlie? Hard to say, other than every cop in the force is there roaming the property. Sounds like a good time to knock over the liquor store, I joked to silence. Okay, what were you able to find out? Not much. I got a few shots of the house and the commotion going on, but I couldn't get it closer than the street. They had so much yellow police tape running from tree to tree, I thought Tony Orlando and Don were in town. If the comb-over that had now settled into a soft serve ice cream swirl on the top of his head had only partially given way, Charlie's advanced age, that reference clinched it. He was still an excellent bloodhound, though. 20-something years at an Albany paper had honed his instincts. Even in retirement, he knew a good story, and we were lucky to have him. I saw in his eyes a look that matched the feeling in my gut, so I pressed him for more. Any state police or even county cops out there? Not a one, Charlie smiled, and I knew we were on the same page. Outside of 1 minute to post at the Wonderland dog track, snap decisions were not my forte. But the time had come today, as some forgotten 60s rock star once sang. Okay, here's the plan, I started. Gladys, call the printer and cancel the run. Tell them we'll get back to them, and when we do, it'll be a rush job. That's going to cost us, she replied, fully aware of our hemorrhaging finances. Don't care. Whatever the vig is, we'll pay it. Coming from a man who lived on Elio's frozen pizza and drank gas station coffee that could rip the enamel off your teeth, this was attention-grabbing. Charlie and Sandy, get over to the high school and see what's going on there. I'm heading out to Sheehan's place and see if I can crack this blue wall of dumbness. Something's going on beneath the surface here. Let's see if we can pop this zit. As that last line will attest, when it came to pep talks, I was more rockhead than Rockney, but it had the desired effect. Thrilled to be chasing a story with potential, everyone bolted. I, on the other hand, sank back in my chair exhausted. As a man who once listed under hobbies on a dating profile, napping, I was hardly a get up and goer, more like a get up and waiter. Still, even I felt like I was in a rut, or maybe, as Waylon Jennings once put it, I was just sick and tired of waking up sick and tired. Whatever it was, I pushed myself out of the desk chair and set sights on the liquor store. Ted Sheehan's house could wait an extra 15 minutes. It was going to take at least another 30 pack of Natty Ice to get me through this ordeal. Natty Ice, huh? Might as well not drink any beer. At that rate. I'm a little bit of a beer snob in that way, though. Might as well just save up a couple weeks, buy some craft. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I can kind of see that chapter one. We got a good idea of what's going on here. We were introduced to all the main characters, if you will, and the plot was set in motion. I think the plot was set in motion quite nicely, or at least we got the inciting incident, if you will. A bit dry at some parts, and you know, kind of heavy on the dialogue, but all in all, I enjoyed some of the quippy lines from the main character there. What do you guys think? Are you referring to this piece? And I see Shauna had joined us. Not reading about balls. Believe it or not, I think he was referring to something on the female anatomy. Oddly enough, that's what I was saying. I was like, why would you use tennis balls in that metaphor when you're referring to the female anatomy? I think my eyes were starting to glaze over a little bit staring at the screen. I'm not used to reading for that long on the computer screen. All right, and that's it for reading time. If you guys want to would like to have me read something live on the air, I'm willing to do so. I'm willing to do so. It could be first chapter like that. It could be, maybe a little snippet. It could be a little an excerpt, if you will, or it could be like a piece of flash fiction. Preferably flash fiction, not like a 45-minute short story, half-hour short story, but maybe if it was like, a piece of flash fiction, like think like 1,500 words around there. That'd be cool. Poetry. I'm not a huge poetry guy, but I will definitely read your poetry if you want to submit some poetry. Don't expect me to try to interpret it. I might try and make a fool of myself, but hey, that could be part of the fun. But also if you write like editorials, critique pieces, or if you write essays, I'll check those out as well. Female hair. Hey, Nicole, you're back. Just in time. We're going to get into some featured media now. I got a book tag to do. Tagged by you know who. This is going to be fun. All right, I got to prep this though. I got a little bit of prep to do. I'll be keeping an eye. I don't know how some of these other channels do it. I know there's other channels out there. They'll do like live reading, and they'll read for like hours in one sitting. Like do like hours of like straight reading for like in one sitting, like one live stream. I don't know. My eyes were starting to glaze over. My head was starting to feel dizzy a little bit. But it also could be because I'm bombarded by multiple computer screens right now, and plus when you're live streaming, you kind of you're kind of multitasking. It's not like you're just focused on one thing, especially if you're like running a live stream on your own. Then you'll know what I'm talking about. You're kind of like your mind is kind of, you're not focused on one thing. You're kind of trying to keep track of multiple things at once. Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. I put a twist on this one, Nicole. I'm going to do a little something special. Nothing too crazy, but I decided to kind of come at it from a different kind of angle here. All right. Hey, Rachel has joined the party. Welcome. Welcome. Not too shabby, not too crabby. Hey, who's this Albert fellow? Have we been introduced to that one? He's lucky number 7. You seen that movie? Yeah, have you seen that movie Split? That was funny. All right, we're going to slide into the next segment here. Featured media. What do I have for featured media? Well, just the other day, I was tagged by Nicole's Bookish Nook. No stranger to the channel, tagged me in something called All About Titles book tag. So she was tagged by somebody else. Now I'm going to be trying my hand at that tag. Now, you guys, something new, I'll say. So this is the All About Titles book tag for 2023. Now, this comes courtesy of Nicole's Bookish Nook. And I want to say to you guys, I know not everybody does like YouTube channels or stuff like that, or does may not know about these book tags or whatever. But for those of you watching this at home, feel free to play along in the comments down below. You can leave your answers. So if you're watching this on the replay, you guys can play live on the air if you'd like, or if you're watching this on the replay, then feel free to just go ahead and you can watch this, and then I'll be leaving the prompts, and you can leave a comment with all your answers in the comment section down below. I'd be interested to see what you guys come up with. So kind of make this a fun little interactive activity, if you will. Oh shit, we got a full house now. Herman P. Hunter, what's going on? Shit, let's get this party started. Now, wait. Now, I mean, you come up with more answers. We're going to be watching you live on the air right now in just a second. All right, let's get to it.
What's up, Buttercup? Welcome back to my channel. Today's tag is all about titles, book tag, and I was tagged by Bookish Kaz. Thank you so much. And I do want to say, caveat is you don't have to have read these books to use them. First question, a book with a one-word title, and I went with Electra by Jennifer Saint because it was a solid Greek retelling, and that was the first one that popped in my head. Number.
Okay. All right. Well, here's the thing. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I try to do what I can to try to come up with. Usually what I'll do is I try to like do what I can to like come up with like fun answers and stuff like that. But for this one, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So let me preface this by saying that since Nicole made it clear from the get-go that my responses do not have to be about books that I've read before, I decided to take a different kind of approach with this book tag. And what I chose to do with these prompts was to use them as an opportunity to go on the hunt. Yes, go on the hunt for some indie books that I could add to my TBR list. So that means more books for this episode. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reveal my picks. Okay. So not to take away from those three authors that I kind of gave a spotlight to earlier in the show. All I'm doing here is just revealing my personal picks of the indie books that I found during my little hunt for all these different prompts. So I'm not going to be going in depth about why I picked the book or even go over any of the details surrounding the book. And I'm not going to be diving into their blurbs. I will just show you my personal TBR pick based upon each prompt from this book tag. All right. So number one, for those of you playing at home, we're looking for a book with a one-word title. Now, some of these might sound easier said than done, and you'll see exactly what I mean here in just a minute. But this first one, we're looking for a book with a one-word title, and I chose Shadowless by Randall McNally. Yes, Shadowless. Can you guys name a book with a one-word title, like just right off the top of your head right now, like just off the cuff? I remember when I first said that I would do these like Booktube tag videos, like in my early days of like when I first started doing live streaming, and I was thinking about turning this into a show, a thing. And I was like, you know what? Tag me in your book tag and I'll try to do it live on the air, just off the cuff. Yeah, no. No, that's not a thing. Have you seen, like, after I've done what this is like book tag probably number 4 or 5 now, I forget what I'm up to now, but after doing a handful of these book tag videos, they're not easy to just, not all the prompts or questions are easy to just come up with answers like right off the cuff. They really aren't. What do you guys? So yeah. Oh, you guys are testing your luck right now? You sure you want to play this game? You think you're going to see how far you can make it? Let's have a little competition in the chat, shall we? Let's have a little competition in the chat. See how far each and every single one of you get with these prompts just by coming up with answers off the cuff. All right. Now, we'll go by the honor rule, of course, the honor system, and I'll just assume that you guys aren't using Google, all right? But we'll see. Rachel chimes in. She's got one. Indigo. All right. Rachel's came up with one. Now, remember, these can be books. For you guys, since you guys don't really have an agenda, I went in this with agenda. I was specifically hunting for indie books. They had to be an indie book, and they had to be a book that I myself would want to add to my TBR list. Now, you guys can answer however you want. Just see if you can get through. Let's see if you can even just get through this book tag, like just off the cuff, and we'll see how far people get. We got Rachel. She's got a one-word book. Yes, she's got Indigo. Thomas got something. He says Mistborn. He's doubling up. He's got Aragon. He's got Dune. He's taking up all the answers. Firestarter. Oh, Rachel. Come on. Anyone else want to chime in? All right. Let's keep it going. Let's see what the second one is.
2, a book with a phrase in the title. And I'm going with After Many a Summer by Aldous Huxley, and the phrase comes from Lord Tennyson. Number
Aldous Huxley. I'm a fan of Huxley. Actually, I gotta read some more Huxley. Actually, I've only actually read one book by Huxley. I think you can take a guess as to which one that is, but I would like to read some more Huxley. All right, you guys, it's getting a little bit more difficult because for those of you playing at home, what are we looking for here? We're looking for a book with a phrase in the title. Okay, there's got to be a phrase in the title. Okay. And I went with Out on a Limb by Luis Paredes. Out on a Limb. Thomas is out. Take care. It was good to see you. Nicole's back in it. The Band.
Or 3, a book with a sentence in the title. And I
didn't see that coming.
The book that I've never heard of before, but it's funny. A Horse Walks into a Bar by David Grossman. I might have to look that up. I don't even know what the genre is, but I thought it was hilarious, so I went with it.
Did you Google that? Okay. Prompt number 3. We're on prompt number 3. For prompt number 3, we're looking for a book with a complete sentence in the title. And I chose You Can't Get There From Here. You Can't Get There From Here by Megan Gordon. That is now added to the old TBR list. Yeah, not so easy, huh? Not so easy. Hey, there's one. There's one.
Number 4, a book with an unusual word in the title. And I guess this is going to work. Maybe not. The Aerodynamics of Pork by Patrick Gale. I am intrigued as to that whole sentence. That is also a sentence. Kind of. Wait, is it? Yes. Yeah, because it's like, picture that as a peer-reviewed title. I don't even know what the genre is for this one either. So I might have to look up this one as well.
Was that unusual?
I chose Aerodynamics because I spent 5 minutes trying to find a really cool and fancy word, and that didn't work out. So I went with this title. Hopefully that works. Number 5.
It's not, I would say it's definitely not every day you hear the term aerodynamics in a book title. You know, this is kind of and it's such it's kind of an odd prompt too, by the way. You know, what does that even mean? You know, so it's like, I guess it's kind of like how you interpret it type of thing, like just see what you come up with. What am I talking about? I'm talking about prompt number 4, which is we're looking for a book with an unusual word in the title. Okay, an unusual word in the title. Now, I might be a bit of a smartass, but I went with an unusual practice. Yes, an unusual practice by Tom Jolly. Seemed like I came across this and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Plus, it's a very interesting premise for the book too. But you guys can look that up on your own time. Pimpernel. Oh, the Scarlet Pimpernel. I just said, I just put a title that has the word unusual in it. I crack myself up. I know I know that's like it's corny.
I have a book with a name in the title, and I'm gonna cheat. Actually, not even cheat. This isn't mentioned. I'm gonna go with Daniel's Curse by Me. Daniel is a mother goddess of the Celts, so I think that works. And moving on to,
I like how you slip that plug in there. So what was that one we're looking for? So this is prompt number 5 for those of you playing at home. Prompt number 5 is a book with a name in the title. A book with a name in the title. And I went with this is actually a new release. This is just released not that long ago. Schrader's Chord. Schrader's Chord. Have you guys heard of this one? Schrader's Chord by Scott Leeds. I'm going to check that out. I do like that. I do like the book cover. The book cover is quite eye-catching. I'm going to be checking that out at some point. Lord Brocktree, Baron and Luthien. Are those fantasies? Yeah. That you'd think that would be like an easy one. That didn't even cross my mind. And I am often like and I do often like use fairy tales for some of these Booktube tag videos.
Number 6, a book with a made-up word in the title. And I chose, I'm pretty sure I got this right, The Children of Hurin by Tolkien. I think, I don't know if I pronounced Hurin correctly. I don't know if I'm going to read that one. I'm going to read, I don't even know how to pronounce it. I was going to choose this one, and I was like, I don't know how to pronounce it. The that one. I'm going to read that one because I've been told it's all about elves, and I am the most interested in elves in the Middle Earth universe. I can't pronounce the title, but I'll just say Simila whenever I speak about it. Or, don't be lazy and I just look it up. But that's difficult. So I went with Hurin, but I think I pronounced that wrong as well. Maybe not, because I have made things awkward. Number 7.
I was chuckling because I thought it was funny that Rachel like put the name in chat as if like texting it. We're talking about pronunciation and Rachel like slipped it in. Yes, Rachel, that is the proper pronunciation of that word. I'm just fucking with you. Yes, that's exactly, yeah, that's it right there. I was like, spell it in like onomatopoeia form. Hartman coming through with the trivial knowledge. Here's what I came up with. This one was a little bit difficult. Took some time. We've already had like a book with an unusual word in the title. So now the creator of this tag for prompt number 6, for those of you playing at home, they expected you to come up with a book with a made up word in the title. Like literally a made up word. And that I would have to say is rarer than that is rare. You would think, that why would someone put a made up word in a title? Now, maybe a little contingency there or something like that, maybe a little fine print. Perhaps also books that have intentionally misspelt words. So I think that might count as well. And I went with How to Be a Boss by Lily Singh. Yep. Psych. I actually went with Slash Tag by John Cone. You think I would add that other book to my TBR list? Come on. Did you speak too soon? Which book are you referring to? Are you admitting to reading How to Be a Boss? Are you admitting that you read this book right here? How to Be a Boss? Nicole's read How to Be a Boss. Did it help you? Did it help you to become a better girl boss? No, I slash tag. I went with slash tag, and yeah, I think it's I'm just joking with you. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is.
A book with a pun in the title. And I chose Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by, who was it? Seth Graham Smith. Sorry, Seth. I don't know why I forget. I just automatically want to say Jane Austen, which technically, yes, but not this version. And I think it's funny. I don't know if other people will think this is a pun, but it's also based on what you think. So I actually gave that book 5 out of 5 stars because it was a fun read and interesting, but I know a lot of people did not like it because he inserted zombies. I was like, well, I mean, it's not the next literature with a capital L. I think this is supposed to be entertaining and a new twist on Pride and Prejudice, but
like a parody.
Okay. Number 8, a book.
I haven't read either of those. I'll probably read Pride and Prejudice at some point. I think it's probably on my bucket list. But okay, so this prompt we're looking for. So the last one was that. Okay, so this one, prompt number 7 for those of you playing at home. We're looking for a book with a pun in the title. Okay, a pun in the title. What did I go with? I found and went with Another One Bites the Crust. Yes, Another One Bites the Crust by H.Y. Hannah. Plus, there's a cute little kitty cat on the cover, and I like that. Is that another parody? This one was fun. This doesn't necessarily have to do with this book in particular, but I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's actually like this like weird, like I discovered like this weird, there's like this weird like whole subgenre of like whodunit, cozy mysteries. Yeah, there's an audience, there's quite an audience out there for like this weird like subgenre of cozy mysteries that involve a pet, like whether it be a cat or a dog, and all the book titles are all like puns like this. And I think that this woman might be one of the like lead indies that like started that little trend. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not going to go into the whole backstory of this, but I'm just saying, like, when I was like searching out books, I came across this and I was like, oh, that's cute and funny. And I got a kick out of it. So, and then that's when I like found that out. And I was like, wow, that's weird. So apparently that's a thing. So if you're ever interested in writing a whodunit kind of cozy mystery, then make sure to feature a cute and cuddly animal on the cover and title it something punny.
Book with the title that describes it well, and I'm going to go with Rain by Catherine McGee, because this is what would happen if America, like the 13 colonies, actually chose George Washington and his family to be king. And so Rain is about Beatrice Washington. So she is reigning as Queen of America, and makes sense.
All right. I think that was a good example. That works. What did I go with? So, okay, so we're on prompt number 8. We're almost done here. We got this one and then another one, and then we're going to be tagging some people. So prompt number 8. For prompt number 8, what you have to do is you got to, we're looking for a book with a title that describes it well. So the title itself kind of describes the book well. Easy enough. I went with Twisted, Tainted Tales. This is another one that's that came out not too long ago. I think within the past year or so. So this is Twisted, Tainted Tales by Janine Pipe. So kind of a short story collection here. And I believe this might be her debut. So be interested to kind of check that out.
Number 9, a book with a title that doesn't describe it well. And I'm going to have to go with Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham, who played Lorelai in Gilmore Girls. And I think it's just too short of a book. Memoir. It's an interesting... I'm going to go with memoir because I think that's what it's classified as. But she's 40. I don't know if that's really a memoir. And she's had other memoirs. This isn't her first memoir. And it's maybe 300 pages or 275. I don't know. It was interesting. She's not talking as much as you would think based on the title because it's so short. And she really doesn't explain a lot of stuff. She just mentions it and then she glides over it. And I'm like, I really want you to go really deep into Gilmore Girls because I was obsessed with that TV show from when it started to when it ended. And then you have the Netflix movie. Give me more. Okay. Give me another movie. And I wanted to know the deets, the down low, the gossip, just whatever. But no, the book was really short and she didn't go into things. So I gave it 3 stars. Number 10.
You had to add that little part. I gave it 3 stars. Nicole wanted all the tea. She wanted all the tea. She wanted all the goss. All right. She wanted all the goss. What did I go with? All right. So number 9, we're all the way up. Prompt number 9, for those of you playing at home, we're looking for a book with a title, surprise, surprise, that does not describe it well. And I chose Shit Happens by Aline Wharton. All right. Shit happens. I just imagine the editor, the editor's talking to him and they're like, yeah, so have you come up with a title for the book? Oh, yeah. I was thinking shit happens. And the editor's just kind of like, well, readers might gather that much, when they pick up the book and they realize it's a novel, there's words on the pages, they might assume that much, you might want to be just maybe a little bit more specific. No, we'll go with that. It's a great title. That's a great title. Anyways, it's now on my TBR. And I'm going to see what kind of shit happens. What kind of proverbial shit takes place. I think that's wrapping up the video here.
A Booktube channel with an amazing name, and then also tag friends. And I think that Art of AWR is pretty cool because at first I was like, what's AWR? Is that like Guar? R?
So Nicole's tagging her channels there. I appreciate you, Nicole. Thanks for including me in that. And we'll wrap this up. Well, let's wrap up this segment here. So let's see. Booktube. So prompt number 10 is just to tag people. So if you're just planning on leaving some comments, I guess you don't have to worry about this one. But for those of you who want to do this on your own YouTube channel, feel free to. But prompt number 10 is a Booktube channel with an amazing name, plus tag your friends. I don't know about friends per se, kind of use that term loosely online. But what I will do is use this as an opportunity to recognize 3 channels that I've recently discovered that are putting effort into spotlighting indie lit. Okay, so specifically channels, I want to recognize 3 channels that I found that are putting in an effort to spotlight indie lit. And those channels are, in no particular order, Splatploitation, Eyes on Indie, and Sam Harrison. So consider yourselves tagged. You can do this tag if you'd like to. Give it a try. Have fun with this tag. And also, before I forget, I'll just give a shout out to the original creator of this tag. This book tag was created by Daniela over at Only If For a Page on YouTube. Of course, I will have all those channels tagged in the show notes down below in post-production. So that was fun and helped me add some new books to the old TBR list. More like a pile. But the list is ever growing. And I'm here for it. So if you have some media you'd like me to check out, share it with me. You can just share a link with me. It could be a YouTube video or it could just be audio only. Preferably, between 20 minutes, half hour, preferably. And depending on what the content is, I'll review it. But if I can fit it into the show, then I'll do so. It could be you reading poetry, you reading your own short stories, you doing like a video essay type deal, giving writer updates on your own projects, what have you. We'll check it out. All right. I have one more segment to get into here. Okay, last segment here. And this segment is called Hot Topic for Content Creators. Yes, hot topic for content creators. This is where I pitch a hot topic to you, and then you turn around, create your own content on said topic. Or else you can always join the conversation by dropping your comments down below or checking out any of my previously pitched hot topic videos. So the hot topic I'd like to discuss with you has to do with representation in fiction. Representation in fiction, and the subject that I would like to focus on for this conversation revolves around the concept of the self-insert, as well as the overall need to see oneself portrayed in a character. Now, I'm coming from two angles here. The concept of the self-insert refers to the writer's point of view and the need to see oneself portrayed in a character has to do specifically with how the consumer experiences a work of fiction, which could refer to someone who is reading a piece of literature, watching a movie or a show, etc. Now, if you have ever heard a woman say, "That's literally me. That's literally me," and they were watching, something along the lines of Sex in the City, let's just say, well, first off, red flag, gentlemen, red flag. But more importantly, that encapsulates the concept of characterization being a fictional representation of the audience of the audience in which the work itself is tailored towards. In this case, let's just say we're talking about toxic women and metrosexual men. This is an example of what's called writing to market. Writing to market is when writers create works that intentionally cater to a specific market or demographic. Usually, this is a pre-existing market that may be trending. Think back to the Twilight saga and when that work came out. Suddenly, every 30-something-year-old female author was suddenly interested in writing urban fantasy romance. Okay. However, right to market may also tap into emerging markets, where writers aim to capitalize upon certain subcultures or lifestyles that have yet to go mainstream. Next thing you know, all the character tropes from the Sex in the City show are now in vogue, if you will. Coincidentally, women all across America were suddenly more comfortable sharing intimate details about their private affairs, which subsequently seemed to be right around the same time that the dating scene was becoming more and more insufferable, to the point where no bachelor was safe from exploitation and or public humiliation. But I digress. One thing I've noticed is that when people consume nothing but right-to-market type fiction, they can become quite accustomed, let's just say, to certain character tropes and qualities that they themselves personally resonate with, or at least they would like to think that they do. One issue that tends to arise with this kind of consumer is that one issue that tends to arise with this kind of consumer is that they will recognize specific character traits and automatically associate those traits with certain qualities, meaning that any character that deviates from the norm in which those consumers have become accustomed to may cause them to become triggered because the character no longer reflects their personal worldview. They'll use made-up words like problematic to describe characters that fail to meet their standard for narcissistic supply. They may resort to calling the artists other words and names that end with ism or ist. They may even go as far as to say that the artist is anti this or anti that, making claims or outright accusing them of something called hate speech, which is not a real thing, but is something that's often perpetuated by particular organizations, often associated with real-world political manipulation. I can't help but think of the ADL when such matters come up in conversation. However, thanks to the First Amendment of our Constitution, a work of art does not have to placate to any specific audience, and individuals have the right to express their artistic vision through this fictional medium to their heart's content. In other words, it's not the responsibility of artists to prop up a mirror so that certain individuals may appreciate their own appearance. You know, the mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all kind of bullshit. See also propaganda, which isn't always meant to demonize, but may be used to create something called the halo effect. Now, on the flip side of that, I would also say any artist who creates in order to flatter themselves aren't actually making art as much as they are engaging in what's called a vanity project. This is where the concept of the self-insert becomes relevant to our conversation here, because a vanity project is a piece of work that is intentionally made in the creator's image, either to elevate their status in the public eye or advocate for the creator's personal beliefs on their behalf. One egregious example of this would be to picture an artist in the form of a soy latte sipping Wojak pointing at their own self-proclaimed work of art that sensationalizes the aftermath of a world in which people fail to recycle their disposables. Of course, the fact that the artist just so happens to be a political activist in favor of environmentalism is something that you, as the consumer, need not be concerned with, and in no way, shape, fashion, or form should that negatively impact the way in which you appreciate their work. Just turn the other cheek, some would say. There's no way their work was meant to be a form of indoctrination, okay? I know this guy. He's a friend of mine. He would never try to brainwash you or even harm a fly. But now, I'm wondering what you guys have to say on this matter. What's your take on the concept of self-inserts and the need to see oneself portrayed in a work of fiction? Did I miss something? Perhaps you have some examples that you'd like to share with me so I can turn around and take a good hard look at it and see for myself as to whether or not it comes across as a self-insert. Who knows? Maybe I'll even be in the mood to poke some fun at it at the expense of the so-called work of art. All right, that's the hot topic. Try to make it as spicy as possible, but remain on point. So now let's wrap things up. But before we get into the wrap up, I got to put on a theme song for you guys. That's right. I got a theme song for you guys. Get cozy, huh? Yes. Let's get cozy with some soft piano, with a soft piano melody. Okay? All right. It's time to tuck you in, dear viewer. That's right. Because it's time for a night night. So get your PJs on. And don't forget to brush your teeth. When you come back, I'll read one bedtime story each. Okay? One for you and one for your teddy bear. Okay? But before we do all that, let's get into the comments and see who stopped by the channel this previous week. Okay? So snuggle up with your favorite blanket. And be prepared to get yourself some shut-eye before I say bye-bye for this week's show. And I hope I'm coming across as pretentious as humanly possible. All right, Nicole stopped by last week. I think it was shortly after the stream, too. Last week's show, Never Forget, which took place on 9/11. She says, doing my tag like a champ. Appreciate you. Give it my best shot. She also said, oh, yeah, because she said some naughty words during that book tag. Said, I had to drop that fuck bomb for this book. Which book was that, you say? Well, you're going to have to go back and take a look, because I'm not going to say. But what I will reveal, actually, I forgot one thing. I am going to go back and do this real quick. So I think I forgot last week, too. So I just want to give a quick shout out here to Richard Holiday. Richard Holiday mentioned me in a post, and he tried his hand at the Triple B tag video that I put out a couple weeks back. So I just wanted to make sure I gave Richard a quick shout out on that. So thanks for giving that a try, Richard. And now, what else do we have here? Oh, yeah. Super secret question of the week. It's time to reveal the poll for the super secret question of the week. The results. I'm not going to reveal the question. Now, what is the super secret question of the week? Well, I'm so glad you asked. The super secret question of the week is a poll that I put up in the live chat during my live Monday night events. So if you show up here while I'm live on Monday nights, while the show is airing, you can participate in the super secret question of the week. All right. And it's time for me to reveal the results of that poll right now. So the results are in. It's a yes or no question, and I have 57% of the answers in favor of yes, and only 42% in favor of no. However, it was a tight race. It was a tight race, I have to say. So thanks to those of you, all of you who showed up this week live during the show. I appreciate you for stopping by, saying hi. Those of you watching on the replay, no need to be shy. You can drop me a comment. Go ahead and say hi. I'd just like to know who took the time to stop by. All right. So I hope y'all had some fun. I hope y'all discovered something new, but don't fret, because guess what? I will be back here for you next week, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Pacific. Have a good week, folks.